Hey, we're at the 2014 NAMM show. I'm Gino Robair. This is Mark Verbos. He's got a new line of synthesizers. Everybody wants one, and he's going to tell you why. You get to hold
Okay,
this.
all right, fantastic. I guess the situation is that I have been working on the vintage Buchla systems, doing my own custom modules that work in the Buchla systems, and sort of keeping it personal, one-on-one with my customers up until now, where I've transitioned into doing a line of modules that are in the Eurorack format and manufactured and available through Analog Haven, and here we go. So using some of those ideas that I was working on before, translating them into this format and developing some new ideas. And focusing on old school style of modules, analog, discrete transistors, good control characteristics, voltage control of everything, this kind of thing.
Fantastic. Why don't you take us on a little tour of each module?
Okay. So the first module I'd like to talk about is the harmonic oscillator, which is a triangle core discrete transistor oscillator with regular triangle, square, saw outputs, but then a wave shaper section that has the sine wave of the fundamental, and then a sine wave at double the frequency, 3 times the frequency, 4 times, etc., all the way up to 8 times the frequency. And then a voltage-controlled mixer section that allows you to address these multiple harmonics in various ways to do some additive synthesis techniques. Are we hearing this? So, and with this system, you can do a lot of the types of sounds that you expect to hear from an oscillator and a filter, but right here in additive on the module. All of these different address techniques are automatable from external voltage control. Yes, all of the jacks that are underneath these sliders are individual VCAs for each of the harmonics.
So this is where you really want to have stackable plugs to be able to just address these.
Yeah, exactly. Where those tip-top stack cables come in.
Now, where did the idea for this module come from?
Well, there was a Buchla 100 series module that was multiple harmonic output. It was called the Harmonic Generator 148 in the 60s, and I don't know how many were built, but I'm guessing very, very few. And in that case, the module just didn't have this mixer. It just had the individual harmonic outputs. And for all these years, 20 years or so, I've been thinking about this module and thinking that it'd be interesting to present those harmonics in a package where they were easily addressable and mixable and in interesting ways. So I actually had a version of this that I developed as a module for the Buchla format, and it generated kind of a lot of interest, but I think this really brings it to the masses in a different way because there's so many more users and it's brought down into this smaller format. So there's that. The second module I'd like to talk about is the complex oscillator, which is much more like the traditional one oscillator with a kind of complicated wave shaper on it, and the other one as a modulation source for that one, more like some of the vintage, for instance, Buchla modules, where out of the master output, you'd start with a sine wave, and then from this section are able to, with the harmonics in the low order, you're able to do the wave folding, wave multiplier type sounds, and with it in the higher order, able to get from sine to square and saw and double frequency saw, and all of this is CV controllable with reversing, attenuator control on all of the parameters. So again, this is a kind of West Coast philosophy situation where we're able to get a lot of the sounds that we associate with a oscillator filter combination directly out of the oscillator and not have to mess with any of that stuff. Built-in voltage control in index of FM switchable waveforms of the FM switchable to AM instead of FM, which is goes all the way up to full like 4-quad multiplication ring modulator and blends from no modulation all the way up with voltage control and sync, soft sync, triangle core VCOs. But you can do some interesting things with this too. So next I'd like to talk about the voltage multi-stage, which is my, at the core it's an 8-stage sequencer, but it has some interesting quirks that make it unique. It is actually able to do pretty much any of the typical control voltage sources that you find in a modular. It can do kind of all of them to some degree itself. So it can do the basic sequences. And let's actually look at this. It has a gate output that when the stages are switched into the on mode, the gates that come out are actually 30% the length of the stage, which the master clock is actually a falling ramp wave that is voltage controllable. So you can also use the second C0 to control the stage length. And what's cool about this is that when switched into the slide mode, then the gate will hold on for the entire length of the stage, and the slide will take the entire length of the stage, which is actually sort of a crossfade from where you were in voltage to where you're going. But if that slide gets long, the length of the slide changes with the length of the stage, which allows us to actually use this as a multi-stage envelope. And included in this equation as a multi-stage envelope is the ability to make any one of the stages into a sustain by patching the output into the sustain input, and as long as the key is held, it'll hold there. So also, if the opposite is true, so if you would use this as you can use it as a sequence that only plays as long as the key is held and stays on whatever stage is patched to the enabled input when it's not held, allowing for modulation that only happens during a key press, like an LFO that only plays during a key press. Also, it can be stepped from an external source, like a drum machine or something like that, at which point the time control would control how long the gates are on, how long the ref, which is the actual ramp coming out and can be used as a decay-only envelope stage, and how long the slides are, and that can also still at that point be voltage controlled. So also, of course, able to reset from any stage to any stage, thereby locking your sequence in anywhere in the middle. And able to, if you hold this strobe, latch into a CV addressable mode and actually work as a quantizer in that respect by mapping out CV that comes in to voltage that goes out.